Hey everybody, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Hope you guys can come in and consider subscribing. It's really good content on here. We keep you up to speed on tools, up to speed on home improvement, up to speed on social, economic issues that impact us all, guys. And that's what we're going to talk about today. You know, we don't just talk about tools. We talked about everything surrounding the tools, jobs, trades, you know, things that we can push to our young people to get them out there and get them involved and open up their eyes to the opportunity out there when it comes to the trades and stuff like that, guys. So uh, today, I think it's a pretty interesting topic, at least to me. How many of you guys, and let me know in the chat, uh, know what affordable housing is and all that stuff, right? And why we need affordable housing. Okay. Well, you know, some people don't like affordable housing. Did you know that? Even though it has affordable on the end of it, you may think, hey, it's affordable. That's great. That's good for everybody. But no, everybody does not like the concept of affordable housing. And there's reasons for that. But we're going to get into that in a minute. Um, but it's pretty interesting that, you know, we have this housing shortage here, at least where I am on the West Coast, California. And I think a couple of lives ago, I talked about what did I talk about? Talked about natural disasters and how they can affect, you know, affect the average tradesman and work. They can rush to the work where the work is when an area gets destroyed or gets damaged by a natural disaster. You know, hey, that's an opportunity. That's where the work is. Well, it's kind of the same with a housing shortage, right? Um, it goes back to the supply and demand formula, right? You have less houses and you have more people trying to get into houses, so you have a supply and demand problem. Why'd that happen? Well, over here in California, you had a lot of economic growth. It produced a lot of jobs, and a lot of people started streaming in, and a lot of people started leaving California as well, right? Because of the taxes and all that stuff. They couldn't take it anymore. The traffic, the crowding, all that stuff caused a lot of people to leave. But a lot of people came here because a lot of jobs were being created. But when those jobs were created, the construction of homes, single family homes to be more exact, didn't keep pace with the demand for the homes themselves because more people were streaming in, right? So um, the governor of California signed a couple of bills not too long ago to try to alleviate that problem, okay, and build more homes. So I'm going to dive into like an article I was looking at about that. I thought it was a good move, actually, right? But a lot of people don't appreciate that, and there's reasons for that, like I said. But this article is from ENR.com. It says California laws could create as many as 150,000 construction jobs. Okay, and as you can tell, hey, it ties into what this channel is all about, right? Jobs and the trades. Okay, so um, says California Governor Gavin Newsom. This was written by Stephanie Loader from ENR.com. And he signed some bills aimed at addressing the state's need for affordable housing, expected to facilitate construction of millions of new units for low and middle income residents and create more than 100,000 union construction jobs. Notice, guys, what's the key word? What's the operative word that I just mentioned? Union construction jobs. Now, when you add union to something, that adds a whole nother aspect to it. Why is that? Well, let's continue reading. Okay, it says we estimate 100,000 to 150,000 construction jobs will be needed to meet the state housing goals. Okay, let me kind of skip around. We expect to fill those jobs with our existing workforce, along with apprentices who will get a hands-on education and have the ability to continue to build housing for years to come. Okay, so the good part to that, the good side to that is you got a lot of opportunities if you want to get into the trades, become an apprentice, work your way up, and eventually make a prevailing wage. And what is the prevailing wage? That's just simply the average income for government contracted jobs, right? I'd say government contracted jobs. It's not like minimum wages. It's has to do with the average wage that, say, a carpenter would make, or someone in a similar trade in a certain area. Okay, so they can't pay you less than that. They can't pay you less than that. Okay, so let's see here. So they're creating all these jobs because they got to build all these houses. But like I said, everybody doesn't appreciate the whole affordable housing endeavor. They don't, right? Why is that? Why don't people want affordable? Some people, I should say. Why don't some people want affordable housing, especially if it can help a lot of people, right? In an overcrowded state where the supply is not keeping up with the demand. Well, let's look at some of the reasons why. Okay, public housing can be socially expensive, according to this other list. I'm saying it can be socially expensive. Let's see what else here. It can lead to the exclusion of minorities. It can people can abuse the system, and if you build it next to say a higher value area, it can possibly bring the value of properties down in certain areas, right? It can attract a certain element that people don't want around, and it's different reasons. It's different reasons, but hey, it's needed, right? It's one of those things that are needed. Matter of fact, I would say public housing is good for the economy, right? I was reading somewhere that public housing or affordable housing doesn't necessarily have to be like the projects or anything like that. It's actually good for the economy. It saves to not have public housing is actually costing you trillions of dollars, right? Trillions of dollars on the back end, and guess who's paying for that? You and me. Okay, what are your opinions, guys, on public housing? Come in the chat. Come in the chat and let me know. Very good life notes. Union construction will limit small businesses. Yeah, absolutely. Union construction will limit small businesses, and I'm gonna dive a little deeper into the article, and it's going to talk about that because you have to understand when these unions lobby for certain bills to be passed, or they're on board with, let's just say these bills I'm reading about now. One is called let's see, Assembly Bill 2011, 2011, I guess, and then Senate Bill 6. Okay, both seek to spur residential construction by allowing developers to skip many steps in the local approvals process, and by giving certain residential projects a by right use of land currently zoned for commercial properties. So what was previously zoned for commercial properties, these bills are going to allow public housing or affordable housing developments to be built on what was previously zoned to be commercial properties, or and hey, that's great. And you also get it's good for the developers because they don't have to spend months to get approved, right? It's fast tracking them through the approval process, allowing them to get these houses up quick because the pressure is building, right? The pressure is building. They need to house people, and California is not known. It's well, I shouldn't say it's not known. It's a lot of homeless people are on this side, maybe because of the beaches. I don't know. The weather is good. If you're homeless back east, then you got to deal with the harsh winters or whatever. But you come to Cali, that's why a lot of people come over here, right? Because of the weather. I mean, hey, it is good weather compared to a lot of places. So yeah, so they're trying to alleviate this housing shortage problem by fast tracking the the steps, the approval process. So these builders, these developers can put this stuff up, right, and get people housed. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, it says it allows multifamily AB 2011, which is one of the bills. It allows multifamily housing along commercial corridors with exemptions for the state's environmental requirements. Yeah, a lot of times you can't get past those environmental requirements. Then you have the environmental people coming down on you. You don't want that. And a time limited approval process. Okay, like I said, SB 6. Okay, that's the other bill. Senate Bill 6 will permit commercial properties such as big box stores or office buildings to be used for housing without rezoning. Okay, so it all sounds good. Sounds good. But so who's benefiting from this? I mentioned the unions earlier. It says labor unions were closely involved in developing both bills. Okay, so they had their hands in that, right? And you can guess why. If they probably had the sign off on the bills. In other words, they negotiated, say, hey, we want those 150,000 construction jobs to go to us. We don't want any open shop workers coming in. By the way, open shop is people who are, they're not union, or they chose not to be union, or they have the choice to choose union or not. And as you can see here, the union has their hands in this because they want only union to be involved in this. They want only union people to get the jobs. So it's always a give and take, right? It's always somebody's hand in cookie jars, all that. And with the union, with the amount of lobbying power that they have, I'm sure Governor Newsom and his people needed that lobbying power to get these bills signed and get them pushed across the line. Okay. AB 2011 requires that some or all of the units in the projects be set aside as affordable, and that contractors pay workers on those projects a prevailing wage. Right? Okay, so once again, there's that prevailing wage term. So, like I said, prevailing wage is just that, if it's $40 an hour, $50 an hour, you can't get paid less than that. Okay, that's part of the contract, and hey, that can be a good thing if you're on the receiving end of that money. SB 6 includes strict labor requirements, would require contractors to use a skilled and trained workforce, a legal standard that means most of the workers on a job must be union members. Yeah, that's the caveat, guys. You got, if you read a little further, you dig a little deeper, and you see whose hand is in the cookie jar right there. And of course, it's the union, right? And hey, can you be mad at them? That's what the union's for. You pay all those dues so you can be able to go and lobby for these kinds of things, right? To have that bargaining power. So you can be at the bargaining table and make things happen for them, right? They want all the money to come to them, all the union workers to get a piece of that pie, and nobody else. Is it selfish? Well, hey, that's what, like I said, that's what a union's for, right? Like it or leave it. All right, let's see here who's in the chat. Very good life notes. Nepotism within joining some unions may cause a problem with minority trade workers. Yeah, we talked about that on another live, the whole nepotism thing. And unfortunately, in a lot of unions, you don't really see a lot of minorities. In California, the Latino population dominates a big part of the union, at least in the longshoremen. That's the one I'm familiar with. And I had the privilege of sitting in front of one of the union members at a sheet metal company the other day, and they took us on a tour over there, and it's pretty homogenous over there as well, right? It is what it is. But one good thing out of this, guys, is that if you're looking for a job in the trades, and if you're looking to work your way up, hey, these jobs are there. They're coming. They're there, especially if you live in California. Okay, you got a housing shortage. It opens up opportunities, just like I spoke about with the natural disasters thing. There's always a silver lining there. If you get into some of these unions, and they will pay for your schooling free. Okay, a lot of these unions, these local, whether it's local 105 or ILWU, or a lot of times they'll pay for your training. They'll pay for your training if you stick with it, say 5 years or more. Then you become a journeyman, and you're doing okay and making at least 6 figures, feed your family, right? But you got to start off as, say, an apprentice, right? So there's a lot of apprenticeships. Like I said, at the sheet metal company that I visited, it was I think it was local 105 over here on this side. The opportunities there are amazing, right? I mean, you have all kinds of avenues you can go into, and like, say, sheet metal, for instance. You can go into the AutoCAD side, where you design They call them detailers. You sit at a computer all day, or you can be at actual out there installing while you're going to school, and you can go to school while you're working, right? While you're working, and then 5 years can go by like that. Okay, so if you get into an apprenticeship, whatever that is, you can really and you stick with it, right? And you stick with it, you can really be on another level in that 5 years. Like I said, time flies, right? So if you're inclined to, get into one of the trades, look at their apprenticeship programs. Look what they offer. Is that something you like? Go take a tour. Go to the place and take a tour of the place. Ask somebody to give you a tour and see if this is what you really want to do. And if it is, hey, dive in. It's not going to hurt. There's so many skills you can learn, right? So with this housing shortage, it's really opening up a lot of opportunities as well. Opportunities are always opening up. Whether it's like I said, a natural disaster, whether it's a housing shortage, whether it's some kind of economic upheaval, you just got to open your eyes and be able to see what's there, right? See what opportunities are there for you to take advantage of. All right, so let's see here. Prevailing wage requirements in the bills alone create a level playing field. Okay, like I said, they can't pay you less than a certain amount. If a contractor decides they are going to cheat the worker, AB 2011, that's the bill, has a right to a private action for enforcement, which we believe is the strongest labor language in the country. So this bill here will protect you from getting cheated out there as a union member, because on the job, whatever, and you're getting cheated. You're with a contractor that doesn't want to pay you, or they're short. You look at your check and you're short. They shorted you for some, and you have a right to private action here. Like it says, a private action for enforcement. Okay. For developers, the bills offer an opportunity to avoid red tape, to develop projects in areas previously out of reach, but the labor stipulations may become an obstacle. So like I said, for developers and builders, it fast tracks you. These bills help to fast track the approval process. Forget all the red tape. You can kind of skip all of that because it's an emergency right now. The housing shortage can be considered an emergency in a sense, and they want to do whatever they can to take care of that. Okay, but like I said, the labor stipulations may become an obstacle. Here's a quote from somebody, the CEO of Lowney Architecture. He said, "Legislators make it too complicated. They take a good idea and water it down. There's no reason to force you to use prevailing wages." Now, when I read that, I was like, okay, right, you shouldn't be forced to do anything, but why wouldn't you want to pay prevailing wages? What would be the reason that a construction company or builder, developer wouldn't want to pay prevailing wages? I mean, he's kind of telling on himself right there. I mean, it's like, do you not want to pay a fair wage to your to people, to your workers? I mean, I'm sure you're getting a nice fat check at the end of the day. It says both bills also have requirements for apprenticeships for careers in construction. Yeah, like I said, that's another one of the good sides, is that you can, just because of this shortage, you can dive in and have a good career for yourself. I mean, I've spoken on this live so many times about the shortage of skilled trade workers all over, and that shortage is still there, right? It's still there, but it may be even more concentrated in areas like where I am, it's California, with this housing shortage. It says the Carpenters Union is prepared to organize and take in the workforce that is interested in construction on day one after the governor signs. Okay, so that goes for contractors and workers, guys. I mean, yeah, they're ready. They're ready. They've secured themselves as far as it only being open to union members, and they're ready to jump in. Okay, did he sign it yet? I think. Okay. Yeah, he did sign it. That was on the 28th of September. 28th of September. Cost. Perry Girl Life Notes says cost. Elaborate on cost, Perry Girl Life Notes. What do you mean by cost? Yeah, there's a cost for everything. All right, here's the meat of it. We estimate 100,000 to 150,000 construction jobs will be needed to meet the state housing goals. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot of jobs, guys. That's a lot of jobs that are needed. So if you have any kind of initiative, I mean, it's just telling you right there, they need these jobs. As long as you stay clean, you're not smoking weed every day, you're staying off drugs, you got a driver's license, you got a high school diploma. These unions will usually take you. Some of them will take you without a high school diploma. I mean, as long if or a high, as long as you're working on getting some kind of equivalent like a GED or something like that, you know, it'll take you in there, guys, and give it 5 to 10 years. And even before that, even as an apprentice coming in there, you're making a decent wage. Okay, even as an apprentice, and you just work your way up. It's just a matter of discipline and consistency. That's just like everything else in life. So when you see stuff like this, when I saw that, I was like, when I saw this article, I was like, man, I got to talk about this here. This is definitely one of those things that highlight what I've been saying on this channel about opportunities and how to take advantage of them when you see them. Right, they're all around. You just got to read. You just got to open your eyes and see what's going on. And of course, it's tailored for people that are in the trades because that's what this channel is about: tools and trades and all that. But whatever field you're in, I'm sure there are things going on where the openings happen, like loopholes open up. I don't know, things open up where that's your time to dive in because there's a short window, right? When this housing shortage is no longer, right, then it won't be as many jobs that are needed, right? And then the restrictions may become more harsh. Now they're loosening some of the restrictions. Like I said, for developers, they get to fast track the approval process, and so all that stuff is that's only temporary until they get this thing under control, right? So you gotta know when it's your time to take advantage of that stuff. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, guys. So it says the best part of the two bills is that the workforce that builds the homes will be able to afford to live in the homes thanks to the labor standards. Absolutely, I agree with that. Okay, that was what his name was. I think Rodriguez. That was a quote from him. The best part of the two bills is that the workforce that builds the homes will be able to afford to live in the homes thanks to the labor standards. Right. So they're not going to just have all these people, men, women, working on these homes, building these homes, and they're getting paid a wage that they can't even afford to live in the homes they're building. No, they're building affordable homes and they're getting paid a prevailing wage, and it works out for both parties. Oh, Paragraph Life Note says you asked why they would not want to pay prevailing wages, and you said the cost. Yeah, I get that. I get it can cost you, but hey, let's be in order to be fair here, um, maybe you should charge more so you can afford to pay your workers a good wage, right? Because if you're gonna pay them, if you're not gonna pay them a prevailing wage, they're gonna look elsewhere after a while, right? Unless they're undocumented or something like that, and that in itself poses a problem, right? You can't be in the union, right, if you're undocumented. So there's really no way around it. So people just gonna have to step up to the plate, right? And so yeah, you're just gonna have to do some negotiations on that level, right? So, and if you want a piece of the pie, this is what comes with it, right? You're just gonna have to. If you can't afford to pay a prevailing wage, then let somebody else handle someone who can. Until you get to the point where you can pay that prevailing wage to your workers, right? I'm not saying every, because you're right, Paragraph Life Notes. Cost is an issue when it comes to business. That's a business, one of the biggest business expenses, right? Having to pay your employees or pay your workers. But don't jump in that pool if you can't. I know you want a piece of that pie, but hey, it is what it is. Yeah. So what are some of the reasons, like I mentioned before, that some people may not want affordable housing. They have groups and neighborhoods and uh, you know organizations that actually form for the express purpose of not allowing affordable housing or low public housing to be built. And like I said, there are reasons for that. They don't want those. In my head, they're saying, hey, we don't want that element or that the type of people that live in affordable housing near us. We don't want that by us. It's gonna the property our property value is gonna drop. It's gonna be it's not gonna be safe. All these things, right? All these things, and you just gotta shake your head, right? You just gotta shake your head. But when you think about it, it's like what you want, because based on what the media portrays as people that live in low income housing, yeah, if you have all that stuff, stacked up in your head, all those perceptions, you wouldn't want that either, right? But it may come a time when you yourself may need affordable housing. I mean, how many people that were living high on the hog in these homes, these big homes, had these cars and everything, and then when the pandemic hit, guess what? They're living in tents under bridges. They're living in a tent under a bridge somewhere when they had all that. And I bet you those people wish they had affordable housing too right now, right? So you got to think of it like that, right? Anything can happen. You got a lot of wildfires out here on the west coast. A lot of people lose their homes all the time for whatever reason: earthquakes, wildfires. We haven't had a major earthquake, across your fingers lately, but that can happen. There's a lot of fault lines that exist over here on the west coast, and it can happen anytime. And if you don't have insurance, guess what? You lose everything, right? If your insurance doesn't cover something, or you have some limited insurance where you can't make up the difference, you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it, and guess what? You're gonna wish you had affordable housing. And once again, it's actually good for the economy. I think I'm gonna try to find that quote about why affordable housing is good for the economy, if I can find that. But I know that affordable housing saves you, the taxpayer. I think it's like $1 trillion a year or something like that. Okay, and that's not a bad deal. All right, hey G Ford, how you doing? Long time no see. Yes, it brings down the neighborhood. G Ford said, yes, it brings down the neighborhood. Now we're getting, this is what I like. We got people coming in and giving their opinions on this. This is what I really want to hear. G Ford said it brings down the neighborhood. Very good life notes. Affordable sometimes does not mean a living wage. When the 105 freeway was under construction, they tore down homes and supposedly replaced with affordable, but the homes were 3 times higher than the existing homes. Yeah, you're right. Affordable to who, right? Very good life notes. It could just be a way of cloaking the real deal here. We're gonna put affordable, but we're gonna gentrify the area to make it affordable to certain groups. G4 says all true. All right, Perry Girl Life knows media does not PR. They didn't make wise decisions. Yeah, G Ford, I hear you. I hear you. That's a whole rabbit hole, G Ford, that we can go down into. There's a reason, G Ford. If we look at the bigger picture of why you need affordable housing for certain groups tend to be the majority of the affordable housing residents. Okay, I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole. For instance, G Ford, if you want to go there, you got to look at different factors that surround that whole thing. You're talking about mass incarceration. You're talking about schools that are underfunded. All this stuff leads to, these are the hallmarks of what you want to call poverty, right? These are the hallmarks that surround that whole term called poverty. I mean, if the men in a certain who are supposed to be the breadwinner, supposed to bring home the bacon, Okay, they're being incarcerated left and right. What are the women supposed to do? Depend on what? The government? Yeah, and you can say, well, they shouldn't be out there committing crimes. Then they would, then they can go get jobs and stuff like that. Hey, G Ford, let's talk, buddy. We tried that. We tried. I mean, there was a time, G Ford. Go look it up. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. All right, that's just one. That's just one. The massacre there. That was a very prosperous town. They didn't need any outside help from the government. They were actually very prosperous, but that town was destroyed because of hate, and many other towns around the country was destroyed because of hate, and the discrimination that happens in America, right? And when they tried to get back up on their feet, they were torn down. They were destroyed again. So it happened, and then you have drugs flooding into these areas, right? Drugs flooding into certain areas. Where are the drugs coming from? Of course, they're going to be the unsavory characters in that very community that bring the drugs in and sell the drugs, and further bring down the community, right? And yeah, so it's a lot of factors. It's a lot of factors. I agree. You don't want those elements around you, but I like to pose the question when those issues come up as to what are the roots of those. What is the root of that? How did it happen? Right? I mean, there were outside factors that really contributed to the need for affordable housing. Okay. So yeah, they didn't make wise decisions. Yeah, I hear you, G4. They didn't. A lot of people didn't make wise decisions, right? But a lot of people did make wise decisions, and because of certain outside factors, they had to they needed affordable housing. Target Life notes: affordable does not mean projects. It does not mean projects. Absolutely, it doesn't mean projects. Like I said, low to middle income. That's what the bills were signed for, to build low to middle income housing. I think G Ford just trying to say affordable means cheap quality. Well, yeah, if you're going to put up a bunch of homes, real quick, it may not, they're going to have to probably skimp on cost, right? And it's not going to be as, the quality may not be as good as otherwise. Keep it only in certain cities. What cities should they keep it in, G Ford? I'm curious to know. What cities should they keep the affordable housing in? Should they keep it in coastal cities? Should it be concentrated more in the Midwest, in Middle America? What do you think? Virgo Life notes: builders build cheap houses, not government. Good point, Perigo Life notes. The government just provides the funding. It's the builders, right? Because they're trying to skimp and save money and cut costs, and put up these cheap houses. You got some unscrupulous builders out there who they're not out there to build quality homes. They're out there to make a fast buck, right? So yeah, I agree. You can't blame the government, but is there oversight? I mean, what about the inspectors, right? Who come inspect these homes? Shouldn't they be held accountable as well? G Ford, yes, they commit crimes. What about choices? People can make better choices. Yeah, absolutely, G Ford. People can make better choices. Make Compton, South Central, Inglewood. Make those the areas. I think those places are full of affordable housing now. That's they have that. That's what they're full of right now. But yeah, I mean, people make choices, G Ford, and they're not always the best choices. But that's such a rabbit hole to go down. That's a whole other video there. Very Good Life knows I've seen cheap materials used in $1 million houses. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. I mean, just because you got $1 million home doesn't mean doesn't mean that the house was built with quality, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, if you're a contractor or something out there, a builder, and you're building somebody's $1 million home, they can afford it. You may think to yourself, hey, they're not going to miss this. I can skimp here, I can skimp there. Yeah, but some of that's someone that spends 1 million can make upgrades. Yeah, but if you're gonna spend $1 million on a house, you're gonna spend $1 million on a house. You kind of you're kind of expecting that house to be built with, I mean, quality, right? You spend $1 million on the dang thing. Inspections are sometimes faulty. Yeah, you can't catch everything. Paragirl Life notes. You can't catch everything, and that just comes with the territory. But um, you know, well, at the end of the day, people need a place to live. Okay, people need a place to live, and we need to house these people, especially over here in California. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, I know before the pandemic, I didn't. Well, after the pandemic, I mean, the homelessness is just crazy. I mean, in areas that I've never seen homeless people, you see it everywhere now. I mean, even in so-called good neighborhoods, right? So those people complaining about affordable housing is bad and they don't want it around them. Well, the pandemic kind of humbled you in that way, right? Because now your neighbor is living on the street or living in their car or van or whatever, right? I think recently the applications for Section 8 housing just opened up. I think I saw that somewhere. The applications just opened up just now. So someone's out there and they're on the street or whatever. Hey, don't be scared. Don't be ashamed. Go ahead and apply. I mean, it's you know, and get back on your feet. We all hit patches where where we have to regather our wits about us, and we all stuff happens. But if so affordable housing gives a lot of people opportunities to get back on their feet. I know me myself. I've been through lows in my life where housing was scarce, and I got out of that. But what I'm, just because I'm on YouTube or whatever doesn't mean I haven't been through anything. I know what it is to not have a place to live. And I'm not saying it was anybody's fault. It's just happened. My own choices. But sometimes we fall on hard times. G Ford, if there are good working people, it is okay. But if they are drug users or violent, maybe there is another solution. Yeah, absolutely, G Ford. I mean, yeah, but a lot of times in people's minds, when they think of affordable housing, they lump everybody into the same pot in their minds, and that's lazy, don't want to work, you know, um, people like that, drug users, people that just take advantage of the system. When there's a lot of people that they're good, hardworking people, they just fell upon hard times where they needed some affordable housing. They needed some help. We all need help. We all need assistance at times. He also said, G4, that people looking for affordable housing will not be able to keep up the property. Unfortunately, G4, that is true to an extent. You have a certain element that, and we always look at the negative. The negative always stands out more. When we look at issues, right? That's why the news is full of negative stuff. We don't want to see the good stuff. We don't want to see people doing good things. We want to see all the negative stuff. That's why the news or whatever, social media, we gravitate. There's something about us as human beings where we gravitate. Our attention is immediately attracted to something negative or something, you know, salacious or something like that. And when it comes to affordable housing, once again, the 30% that are hardworking people, like you said, G Fort, they don't get any credit. They're out there going to work every day trying to feed their families, and they just need affordable housing for now, right? And it is what it is. That's just the human psyche. We always look at the negative. All right. Inspections are sometimes faulty. I'm trying to go through this chat here, how to keep up with you guys. Hey, I want to say thanks for coming on in. And you 5 people that are watching me right now, hey, love you guys, at least for coming in and you know, listen to this bald-headed guy talk about issues that you probably don't, could care less about. I don't know, but obviously you care somewhat about it because you saw the title. All right, and come on in the chat and say hi. This is sponsored by www.exactag.com. Guys, by the way, calibrate.com should be ready by, I'd say, by the end of the month. We got some good products on there for you guys to help support the channel. And I would appreciate it if you go check out calibrate.com. The site's almost ready, guys. Okay, I'm be totally transparent. The site's almost ready, and I'm definitely gonna let you know when it is. Thank you, guys. All right, here we go. Closing mental health group homes, Perryville Life Note says, and facilities increase the homeless population. There's so many rabbit holes we can go down surrounding this affordable housing issue, right? Yeah, I mean, mentally, people dealing with mental health issues, they're a good majority of homeless people, right? Or people, that find are having a hard time keeping a home or a place to live. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. And according to Perigirl Life Notes, that they have been closing a lot of mental health group homes or facilities. And of course, we see that. I mean, on the West, I mean, in Los Angeles, you see pretty much all you got to do is walk out, drive down the street. You're going to see a homeless person. You're going to see a mentally unstable person. And it's really, really depressing sometimes when you see that. It's because, like, wow, but it can happen to anybody. You don't know what happened in that person's life. It could have been anything. It could have been drug use. It could have been abuse. It's really hard when you see women, for me, to see women out there dealing with those issues, because they're already they're women, and they're already at risk for being abused anyway. So when they're mentally unstable, it's just, there was a young lady, a friend of mine, daughter just went missing a couple of weeks ago, and she was gone for, like, I don't know, a week or so, and I could only imagine what it was doing to her parents, because a lot of these kids, these girls, they turn up dead or raped or something like that. And fortunately, she was found. Okay, fortunately, she was found, but it doesn't happen. That doesn't happen all the time. A lot of times, it's the worst outcome that happens. And but yeah, a lot of people out there mentally unstable, and that's just a sad reality we have to deal with. So affordable housing, or at least some kind of housing for the mentally unstable, it's definitely, it's one of those things that you can't neglect, right? Because do you want a city full of mentally unstable, unhoused, mentally unstable people walking around? I mean, it's enough out there already, right? That you see every day. So, very good life. Those two working households cannot afford apartments in LA. Yeah, even some studio apartments are in some parts like $1,500. Like, ridiculous. A studio apartment for $1,500. Yeah. So there are plenty of renters that keep. I kind of missed that one. Period. Life notes. G Ford. Honestly, I do not want it built in my neighborhood. G Ford is standing. He's standing on his word, man. He doesn't want affordable housing tenants around him at all. He doesn't want affordable housing developments around him, and he has a G Ford. You have every right to feel that way. Okay, you have every right to feel that way. I'm not even going to argue with you on that one. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Romy 134. You gave me a card at a conference I was at. I'm glad I'm catching you live. Hey, Romy 134. I appreciate you coming in, man. And it was a pleasure meeting you, by the way. I'm thinking, I think it was a conference. Was it the KGLH conference over there at Dominguez Hills? I think that was the last one I went to. Yeah. G Ford, a lot of those people are on drugs. Yes, G Ford, I totally agree. In a sense, I can't really knock G Ford on this, because if the majority of people that G Ford's come across uh, who live in, like, say, public housing, affordable housing. Once again, like Peregrine Life Note says, affordable housing doesn't have to mean projects. You know what I mean? The projects, it doesn't have to mean a project. But if the majority of people G4 has come across, or the, whether it's on the media, whether it's in its own personal interactions with people who come from those areas, affordable housing developments, are people on drugs, or people that tend towards criminality, then he's just speaking from his experience, from what he said. Should I try to change his mind? No, that's up to G4 to understand that. But G4, you did say that they're hardworking people, but they're just not enough. There's more of the other side that comprise the makeup of affordable housing developments, right? And that's probably where he's coming from, G4. So I'm gonna give you a pass on that one. I'm not gonna argue you on that one. I get it, you know. But once again, I just want you to examine, G4, that when we say people are drug users, this is that, yeah, hey, I feel you, right? But let's look at why affordable housing exists. Let's look at why it exists. Let's look at why people need Section 8. Let's look at why certain groups of people need these things. It's because they were disenfranchised from day one. They were disenfranchised. Those populations were disenfranchised from day one, especially the African American community, right? What about G4? What do you think about Indian reservations? They shipped them and put them on reservations. I mean, and the alcohol problem there is and probably the drug problems there is insane. But sometimes, if you're living in a state of deprivation, or you don't have that much opportunity, sometimes that can drive you to those things, because those are coping mechanisms, right? It's not that a lot of people started out doing drugs. Is that they're living in an area where it makes them want to do drugs to try to escape the reality of life. Yeah. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle, right? Either way you look at it, guys, the economy of California grew, and they need affordable housing, guys, because they need housing. They need housing. Okay. And that stuff has to be built. Okay. G4, that is okay. They're at least using the reservation to gain revenue to support their culture. Yeah, absolutely. They got that going for them, right? But on a lot of these reservations, the drug use, the crime, it's just as bad as what any other community that's known for those things as well, right? And look, drug use happens across the board, G Ford. Okay, drug use happens across the board. It's not just in poor areas. It's in affluent areas as well. It's in semi-affluent areas. Drugs span the gamut. It doesn't discriminate. But the media says those poor people, they're drug users. We're gonna look down on them. Gonna point the finger at them. Hey, look at what's happening in the with the fentanyl epidemic. Okay, look what's happening there. Peregrine Life knows affordable means paying 50 to 60% of fair market rent and no more than 30% of their income, not always free. Yeah, absolutely. It says affordable. That means you're going to be paying something. Not as bad. However, I agree. So, G Ford, the fentanyl epidemic, right, which affects what we call the European American population, a lot, and others as well, but it's known to be prevalent there. It's not as bad as say cocaine, or addiction in African American communities, or Hispanic communities, or Asian communities. I would think it's bad, because I remember a few years ago it was on the news all over the place how bad how this addiction to fentanyl and these other types of you know drugs that are affecting the European American communities. So I don't know. I don't know if it's not as bad, G Ford, but at least you agree with me that drugs affect everybody. I don't care how much money you got. Some of the richest people are the biggest drug users ever. Why? Because they have the means, right? They got the means, right? So yeah. But to tie it all back in, guys, I'm gonna wrap up in a second. Back to what this channel is about. Opportunities abound. Okay, you have this affordable housing uh, building opportunity right now. You have this housing shortage. You have this supply and demand shortage. And if you have your eyes open as a you know a person that sees opportunity, you can like I said, you can get into a trade, whether it's sheet metal, whether it's I don't know, masonry. They got all kinds of things. Okay, electrical, plumbing, all kinds of unions. You can get into an apprenticeship. They will train you for free. You can go out there and get a college degree in underwater basket weaving and hope you can get a job after that. No, I'm just kidding. College ain't bad. You just got to be focused and choose the right major, right? Something that's going to pay you, right? Matter of fact, a lot of trades. What I found interesting, I went to this meeting with the sheet metal union guy, and when they train you, you can use those same classes that you take uh, in the training for whatever trade that is, say sheet metal, and you can use those to transfer those to actual college credits. So that's good, right? Those can be used as actual college credits. So it's kind of, hey, so there's a bunch of opportunity there. Matter of fact, guys, look out for my next video. I'm gonna put up the meeting, right? Because I filmed it of the sheet metal union guy telling you what the sheet metal union's all about, giving you opportunities to dive into that and see what they do. And he talks about the apprenticeship program because it was really about that because we took the students there to see if it's something that they want to pursue, right? And I mean, it's amazing what some of these unions have to offer you if you just get into them. It can set you up for life, and that's what I'm about on this channel. I really want to see you succeed, whatever you're doing. I'm about the trades. Maybe you can go to another channel. Somebody's talking about, information technology or computers or something like that. I'm focusing on the trades, guys, because that's something that's, there's a low barrier to entry there. Like I said, there's a high school diploma. I'm just trying to get the masses here. I'm trying to get these kids, man. I'm trying to get these, not just kids. I mean, you can be 30 years old, 40 years old and still get into it, right? And still, granted, the older you get, it may be a little more difficult, but, because sometimes they want a young person that they can bring in and mold them from the start, right? And, but it's still open. It's still open, right? Age, as far as age restrictions, I don't know, 40, 50 years old and still become an apprentice in something, I guess. And, 5 years after you've done your apprenticeship, went through all the steps, and you become a journeyman, right? And then after that, you can you're pretty much set in that area. You can just keep climbing, or like I like to tell people, think about ways you can you can earn an income outside of an actual job. You can use the skills that you learn on the job to go start your own outfit, and then keep your job if you want to. But I always say, hey, look, when it comes to income, don't put all your eggs in one basket there. Learn the skills you need to learn what you need to learn in these establishments that you work at. And if you're so inclined, I know everybody's not, go out there and start your own outfit and reap the benefits so you can help others along the way. Hey, I want to say thank you, guys. I've been on here long enough. I think it's a good thing that California's doing by signing those bills, right? Some people are not going to like certain parts of it. I get that. But in the overall picture, I think it's good because people need to be housed, and especially when there's economic growth. So they need it as well. When there's economic growth and there's not enough housing to, for people that come in for these jobs that are being created, then that could be a problem. So I appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks, Romy. I appreciate you coming on. Pleasure meeting you that day. G4, it's been a pleasure, man. I love the back and forth. We don't always have to agree on things, and that's what these lives are about, guys. We want to see opinions. I want to see different opinions on things. Maybe I'll learn some. Maybe it's something I need to learn. Okay. Paragirl Life Notes. That's my ride or die right there. Always good to have you, Paragirl Life Notes, and appreciate you coming in. Hope you guys enjoyed this topic. Hope you learned something, whether it's now on the replay. Come back to the channel, subscribe, tell all your friends, and I appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. Look out for calibrate.com, guys. Like I said, it's coming right around the corner. Have a good one, guys. Appreciate you.